Do you say yes to everything in a heartbeat? Do you consider yourself an overcommitter? Do you often feel burnt out and exhausted despite doing everything right? Come close, because you share something in common with one of the main characters of the book I'll be reviewing today. Like you, Sherry showed up everywhere. At work, taking on tasks that had nothing to do with her KPI. At every PTA meeting, every church bake sale. She showed up for every "can you help with this, can you help with that?" She simply couldn't say no. Well, Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend have a message for all the Sherrys watching today, and I'll dive right into it shortly. Again, we had a physical review this time around, and to be honest, it was so wholesome. We had conversations that lingered long after the last page was closed. I can't even put in words how that review went that day, and just thinking about it now. Just speaking of which, why haven't you honored any of my invitations yet? Anyway, let's get right into it. The title of the book I'll be reviewing today is Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend. And listen, when two doctors sit down to talk about boundaries, it's not medicine they're prescribing, but trust me, it heals. Even though they're academic doctors. Hope you get the joke. The central message of this book is that you are responsible to others and not for others. Boundaries help us define what is me and what is not me, so we can love freely, live purposefully, and stop emotionally bleeding. I remember when I first announced this book at the book club, someone reached out to me humorously and said, "Boundaries? Why more walls? Shouldn't we be tearing them down?" I laughed, but here is the truth. Healthy boundaries don't shut people out. They actually create room for real connections. In fact, without boundaries, even openness loses its meaning. Now, here is how the author interprets it from Sherry's lens. Sherry didn't realize that for every yes she gave others was a no to herself, and she wasn't being loving. She was people-pleasing out of fear, and then her resentment grew slowly and silently, while others around her thought she was just so kind. Eventually, the emotional and physical toll showed up as chronic fatigue, frustration towards her husband and children, and then internal confusion. She was always asking herself questions like, why do I feel like I'm drowning even when I'm doing good things? The authors listed out the type of boundary problems people often encounter. We have the compliant. They can't say no out of guilt or fear of rejection. They agree to things they don't really want to do and end up drained or resentful. They are the avoidant category. They can't ask for help. They keep struggling, or they keep struggles to themselves, which leads to isolation and unnecessary stress. We have the controllers. They don't respect others' boundaries. They push, they manipulate, or dominate, often making relationships feel unsafe. Lastly, we have the non-responders. They ignore others' needs, focusing only on themselves, and they leave people around them feeling unseen. There was a very interesting reflection in the book where the authors remind us that we can be a mix of all these depending on the situation. For example, you might be compliant with family, always saying yes, avoidant at work, not asking for support, and even a controller in friendships, wanting things your way. Now, the goal isn't to shame ourselves, but to notice these patterns and start practicing healthier boundaries where you can say yes or no freely, ask for help when needed, respect others' limits, and respond with care. There are some myths about boundaries, just like the person that had reached out to me when I had shared the book. People wrongly think that boundaries mean something that they are not. For example, we see One myth is that setting boundaries is selfish. Another would be, if I set boundaries, people won't like me. Then another is, boundaries mean I don't care. And lastly, a Christian should always give. But here's a truth bomb. Even Jesus had boundaries. He set boundaries too. He withdrew occasionally. And when you read in the Bible and you just see, and he withdrew, and then he said no, or he didn't let guilt drive him or his actions. So that's something to bear in mind. The authors listed out the kind of boundaries we should have in our various relationships. Now, in friendships, they had said you don't have to be emotionally available 24/7. In marriage, you're responsible for your own happiness and not your partner's, right? With your parents, adults must detach and build their own identity. With kids, boundaries teach consequence, not punishment. At work, you are not paid to be a doormat. One quote that I found very interesting is, "No is a complete sentence." All right, so actionable steps, practical takeaways, life-changing if practiced. The first one would be to have a no script. Have a no script ready. So it sounds something like, I'd love to help, but I'm not available for that. I need to think about that first. I've hit my limits today. The next is to use time boundaries. Literally set time. You start setting end time for conversations, for work hours, and even certain friendships. Another thing to have at the back of your mind is that boundaries does not equal rejection. Healthy people respect boundaries, and if someone punishes you for setting one, that's an information. Now, you also want to track your resentment. If you often feel irritated after doing something for someone or showing up, you feel drained. More than drained is even the resentment word. We have this bitter aftertaste. It's likely that you are overstretched or overextended, and that's a sign and something that you should take note of. So you should track that to know if you're overstepping your boundaries or pushing yourself beyond your limits. For this actionable takeaway, the last one would be that you need to parent yourself. Many of us need to reparent ourselves and teach the inner child that it's okay to say no and still be loved. Closing quote for impact. You can't set limits on others. You can only set limits on your own exposure to people who are behaving poorly. Boundaries are not about revenge, they're about responsibilities. I highly recommend this book to everyone out there, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you find it hard to set boundaries in your personal life or work life? Drop a comment and let's chat. Thank you for watching. Thank you for spending time with me today. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe for more book reflections. See you in my next video. Until I come your way next time, I remain your favorite girl, Achille, Miriam, or Chels, whichever you know me by. Au revoir.